Hey everybody, it's Brian Zane here. Well, the month of May is upon us, and the time to celebrate Hulkamania, for now at least, is in the past. It's time for an all-new themed month, You Can't See May. It's a month-long celebration of some of the biggest and best and occasionally the worst moments and matches in John Cena's WWE career. We're beginning this month on a high note here this week as we look at one of his greatest title matches of all time in Unforgiven 2006 from September 17th at the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This show's been nominated by Zach Shoemaker, Caesar Sinclair Jr., Emma Bond, Jaden, Jordan Scott, Majin Beasy, and Seth Levy over at patreon.com/wrestlingwithwregret. So what's happening in WWE around this time? Well, the company is currently in a post-Kurt Angle world. He just got his release from the company around this time between SummerSlam and Unforgiven. It was broken online on WWE.com, which they talked about on to the TV product. That was a big thing at the time. The company was really pushing .com as like the place to go for all of the news and scoops. They were trying basically, it seemed at that time, to kind of one-up or get out in front of the rumor mill reporters like, Dave Meltzer, Wade Keller, what have you, and just kind of do their own version of like wrestling news with a Z, and trying to provide like stories to help also, build storylines within the TV product, but also kind of pulling back the curtain and giving fans some of the real news as well. But anyway, Kurt would not stay unemployed for long. He would go on to Impact Wrestling and have a bit of a career renaissance there, all while dealing with the substance abuse issues that got him fired from WWE in the first place. But that's a story for another time. Also, Mick Foley has just been fired on television. He was in the midst of this big heel program with Ric Flair over the last several months, culminating in that 2 out of 3 falls match at SummerSlam. And the night after SummerSlam, he ends up joining the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. He did it because he was threatened that someone would get fired if he didn't. Then it was revealed it'd be his bestie Melina who'd get fired if he didn't do it. So Mick swallowed his pride and did the deed, got fired by Vince and Melina anyway, and we wouldn't see Foley on television here for a long time. Also, it's really weird to recontextualize everything Vince does during this time, knowing what we know now in 2024. Guy here is just flaunting his jollies out in front of everybody and like no one questioned it. The show drew 16,105 folks to Toronto, 289,000 pay-per-view buys. It's up big between 05 and 07's version of Unforgiven. This is a Raw-branded pay-per-view, so Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are on the call. Opening match is for the Intercontinental Championship as Johnny Nitro with Melina defends against...
What the hell are you doing here, Jeff Hardy?
On the same episode of Raw where Melina got Mick Foley fired, Jeff Hardy returned to WWE for the first time in 3 years. He went after Edge immediately, but then soon pivoted to Nitro and the IC title. They fought on TV a couple of weeks before this, and Johnny got himself DQ'd. This feud and Jeff Hardy's return also gave us some of the best, Jeff Hardy backstage moments in history, because Melina and Johnny Nitro did a press conference after Mick Foley was fired, and Jeff Hardy's response to that was like him just kind of painting a wall and saying, "Oh, I'm watching the Johnny Nitro Melina press conference." And then the next week you see Nitro Melina cutting a promo and Jeff's painting this impromptu painting behind them and he's like, yeah, he's really loving it, he's really digging it, and Nitro knocks the easel down and Jeff goes, "That's my painting, man!" The match begins, we get a Nitro sucks chant and Jeff chants along with the crowd on that one. Jim Ross at one point calling Johnny, "Don't call me Monday Nitro." Do you think that he got that name because like Vince wanted to stick it to WCW just a little bit more and justify Nitro sucks chants in 06? Hardy with a lot of arm drags to start things off. Jeff building up an offense and is already teasing a swanton. JR says, "Melina's suffering heart palpitations. Oh, that can't be right. She doesn't have a heart." Damn, this is like not the last time JR is just going to go scorched earth on ladies in particular on this show. Nice cutoff by Nitro when he kicks Jeff off the top rope. We get a big old bump. Nitro slowing Jeff down by attacking the legs. Jeff with another crazy flippy bump while hanging onto the ropes. Just keeps working that leg for a while until Jeff fights up. Nitro goes for a big corkscrew moonsault, but nobody home. They go for an Irish whip, but one of Jeff's sleeve gimmicks rips in the process. Just when the crowd is at their most quiet, Jeff brings them back to life with Whisper in the Wind. We get a top rope Hurricane Rana attempt blocked. Jeff hits the Swanton Bomb. The cover, but Nitro's foot lands on the ropes, and JR says, "Even a Pac-10 referee can see that." By the way, R.I.P. Pac-12. Melina's on the apron. Jeff knocking Johnny into her. He almost gets the win, but we get a 2 count. Melina selling on the outside. We hear some kid in the crowd just yell, "Ha ha, sucks to be you, doesn't it?" But Melina pulls her boot off and decks Jeff in the head with it. Nitro with the cover and the win, and JR punctuates this by saying, "I'm sure she spent ample time on her back. For fuck's sake, Jim." Nitro celebrates, and Melina, as Dusty Rhodes might say, can bella walk. I give this opening match 2.5 stars out of 5. Kind of a disappointment here, because you look at a match like Hardy and Nitro on paper, and you think to yourself this could be a real, wow, exciting balls-to-the-wall match, and there were glimpses of that in this matchup here, but there was also a lot of clunkiness throughout, like maybe the chemistry wasn't all there at times. I feel that if they cut this match by a few minutes even, they could have picked up the pace, and I think they could have, had more of a match befitting their respective styles. But be that as it may, these two would continue their feud for about the next month or so. They'd be trading the title back and forth. Jeff would win the IC title 2 more times as a result of this feud. SmackDown GM Teddy Long is up in his own skybox. He's waiting for the results of the main event to see whether or not he gets to have John Cena on his roster, but look at him up there, so alone, so alone! Backstage, Jeff is comforted by Matt Hardy, who tries to encourage him, says he's proud. In comes the women's champion Lita to take the piss out of this Team Extreme reunion. She screws up, saying that Jeff is a screw-up, then tells Matt that he would never win a title in any reality and that they can watch her beat Trish later tonight. She walks off and the Hardys just stand there. Who is the real monster of WWE? That was the question they tried to answer on this night when Umaga faced Kane in singles action. Umaga has been on a real big winning streak since he debuted after WrestleMania about 5 or 6 months ago. And you've got Kane, who was beaten to a bloody pulp by Umaga last month. He made him spit out all that internal blood. Kane was put on the shelf for a little bit, and that's how we get this matchup here. Armando Alejandro Estrada with an intro that is way too over for Vince McMahon's liking. Don't get used to seeing him with a microphone for much longer. He says that Kane is no monster and that he and everyone who likes him are big red, como se dice, dummies. The big guys just trading blows from the opening bell here. Umaga cannot be brought down, but he does briefly take Kane down. On the outside, Armando with a brief distraction that allows Umaga to take Kane down face first and take over. He hits a shining wizard on Kane. That was fun to see. Armando is sweating profusely through his shirt as he signals the end of Kane, but the big red machine fights back. Umaga absorbs blow after blow, catching Kane with a Samoan drop, goes for a super spike, but Kane sits up. More back and forth, Kane suplexing Umaga over the ropes and to the outside. They keep on brawling until we get a double count out. It makes its way back up the ramp and through the entranceway to the chagrin of the audience. I give it 2 stars out of 5. It's a match that had good potential. I love hoss fights like this, and I think they did a pretty good job working with each other. I loved Kane's big babyface comeback. At one point, he's just throwing punch after punch, and as he's doing it, the crowd's just like swelling up. I really like that part for sure. You just hate to see matches end like this on a double count out of the intent of protecting both guys, because, Umaga still unbeaten. Kane, they want to make him look strong as well. These two would have a return match at Cyber Sunday after this point, but Umaga would end up winning that one. But yeah, kind of disappointed the match ended like this. Backstage, Vince and Shane McMahon are watching the tape back from last Monday when they bludgeoned DX to a bloody pulp. They're anxiously awaiting their Hell in a Cell match. They're strategizing. Vince saying that unlike Canada, he won't sit behind his allies to beat DX. He'll join the fight himself and says that DX has no chance or something. Well, are you ready for the nadir of the Raw tag team scene? It's for the World Tag Team Championships up next as the Spirit Squad defend against Rory and Robbie, the Highlanders. Yes, there are 2 Highlanders. These 2 guys are cousins, kayfabe cousins, who debuted as kind of fish out of water characters in WWE. They're fresh from Scotland. They know nothing of the outside world. Robbie especially is kind of a dum-dum because most of what he says is, "I'm Robbie," and that's the gist of their whole gimmick, basically. They did get an endorsement from Roddy Piper the previous week. They all came out together with the bagpipe band, and the 3 of them beat up some squad members in a 6-man tag. Here on Sunday, Mikey and Kenny of the Spirit Squad officially in the match. The other 3 are at ringside. And guys, let me tell you something. These Highlanders are so goofy and crazy, they slap each other in the face to do tags. Although it didn't work out so well in this match because Robbie had to keep slapping Rory so the referee could see the tag. Right now, the lads in kilts have answers answers for everything the champs are throwing at them. Robbie goes for a dive to the outside and gets none of it. That looks kind of rough. The squad beat up Robbie a little more outside. Robbie almost gets the tag out until Kenny yoinks Rory off the apron in the nick of time. Heart attack by the champs in Toronto. Kenny goes for the top rope leg drop and gets none of it. Rory gets a hot tag and launches Kenny over the top and onto his teammates. The Highlanders look to have it won, but the pin's broken up. Johnny with a cheap shot with the referee's back turned, the cover and the win. The squad retain. And Jerry Lawler with a line at the end saying, if idiots could fly, these guys would be at airport. Like, no, I'm pretty sure they would just be planes. The airport isn't the dumb thing that the idiots are. That I don't want to read into it too much. I give it 1.5 stars out of 5. This is just like, it felt like a basic TV tag team match. I mean, it gets the Spirit Squad over more as those dastardly cheaters and everything, but Robbie and Rory, they just look dumb. Up next, Heck in a Sack as D-Generation X take on Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, and The Big Show. The last several weeks on television, DX has broken Mr. McMahon with all of their sophomoric antics and their offbeat shenanigans, talking about how Vince loves cock. They deface Vince's private jet and the WWE headquarters in Stanford with giant DX decals. They rip the axle off of his limousine and spray paint the limo as well. Vince is deranged as a result of all this. He bloodies DX and declares that they and The Big Show will take on DX in the cell. And there's this line by Triple H going, "Thank you for reminding us just who the hell we are." Like I said, The Big Show is with the McMahons here. He is the current ECW champion, and he could be doing some ECW-related stories to help the ECW brand, or maybe even better yet, take some time off of television because he is in bad shape here. But nope, he is roped into this storyline here for no real reason other than the fact that McMahon's needed a heavy. Again, they could have picked a lot of different people, but I think taking Big Show away from ECW responsibilities and putting him in even more ridiculous physical situations might not be the best strategy. I mean, he's in bad shape at this point in his career, and they are running him ragged. He looks blown up before the match even really begins. DX start things off by taking Big Show to double dick kick city, then again from the back, that poor man. HBK launching Shane into the cell wall, and Jim Ross says, "And it didn't taste like quiche or any other freshly prepared meal by a chef." What? Is he just hungry now? Shane now busted open and Vince is not far behind him. Big Show finally done selling his ball trauma and takes DX down. The baddies regain control. Show with a chokeslam to H-Man, then hits Shawn with the alley-oop into the cell wall. Then he lets out a little chuckle.
And it was flipped with great force.
Shawn's bleeding now. They get out a trash can and Shane hitting the Van Terminator with it onto Triple H. Hunter is now bleeding from the ear. This was the same ear, by the way, that got injured last week when they closed a limo door on his head and he didn't die. The beating of DX continues. We get this amazing 1-2 combination of close-ups. One of Triple H who's selling the beating, then Vince just going, "Oh." The Big Show is gassed and leaning back on the ropes. He wants to be done, but Vince wants him to keep going. Triple H jettisons Show out of the ring and DX make their comeback. Shane just picks Hunter up into a freaking torture rack, into a neckbreaker. Jesus. Vince suddenly drops Trow and it's time for DX to join the Kiss My Ass Club, but they get away from that pretty quickly. Vince wanting Show to splash Shawn. He goes for it. HBK pulls Vince into harm's way. Big Show does a great "did I do that?" face, then gets his balls crushed again with a case of ring postitis. Jim Ross with the greatest call of the night saying, "Shane's getting Donkey Kong ping-ponged." Like, I cannot stop laughing over the insane commentary on this show. And in this match in particular, JR has totally lost the plot. Shawn Michaels Pillmanizes Shane's neck with an elbow drop. Yay, murder! Big Show once again back up. He's got evil intentions with the steel steps, but Triple H knocks him silly. Shawn kicked him into the ropes. Vince, ever defiant, standing up to both members of DX. Then Hunter and Shawn pull Show's tights down. They drive Vince's face right up the Big Show's ass, like way up there, good God. Then as Vince is just selling and dry heaving like crazy, he walks into Sweet Chin Music, then gets a sledgie cracked over his back, and finally, DX ends the match by pinning Vince. As Shawn and Hunter celebrate the win, the McMahons are each being carted onto gurneys. Shane's got this scary, faraway look in his eyes. JR and King are putting on these somewhat serious voices as they get wheeled away. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. This was a brutal, violent match. Got a little bit silly at times, but I don't think it was enough to take things away from the match itself. I think it went a bit too long, but hey, a match involving Triple H going too long? Shocking. That being said, I think that Big Show, even though he was in a bad shape, I think they used him pretty effectively here. Like the timing where they gave him time to like rest and breathe for a while Vince and Shane did the bulk of the selling. I think the McMahons did a great job making DX look strong here. This would be the end of the DX McMahons feud, and things would pivot very soon to DX versus Rated RKO. It's the end of an era for women's wrestling in WWE. Trish Stratus has announced her retirement from wrestling after 6 years in the company, and this is going to be her final match for quite a long time here as she takes on her old friend and rival Lita for the Women's Championship. Lita did recently beat Mickie James for the title, and she is responsible in storyline for leaking the news of Trish's pending retirement to WWE.com, where all the scoops live. Trish getting a big ovation in her hometown, JR saying that Trish can break the fabulous Moolah's record for number of women's title reigns if she wins tonight. There's big thank you Trish chants before the match even begins. She's off to a fast start, leaping off the apron onto the floor on Lita, though I did get a little nervous because those mats looked freshly mopped from all the blood from the last match. Looked kind of slippery out there, and I was just thinking of the time that Lita messed her knee up in a match with Trish, doing a very similar spot. Lita taking over on Trish, but Trish comes back, licks her hands many times for a chop. She goes for another head scissors, but Lita blocks it. They fight up top until they both tumble to the ground. Lita goes for the moonsault, and she misses. Stratus faction is countered, and out goes Trish. Lita talking some trash to Trish as she continues the assault. They trade punches. Trish with another head scissors, connects with a chick kick, but we get a kick out. Trish then gets the sharpshooter locked in, which gets one of the biggest pops all night. She makes Lita tap out, bends her back just a little bit more at the end to win. So Trish wins, she goes out on top and has the Women's Championship in her final match, or what will be her final match, for several years. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. This was a really good match. Told a great story. I think it was a match befitting Trish's last hurrah. The chemistry and the history that Trish and Lita have. You knew they were going to try and pull out all the stops in this one, and I think they had a very physical, dramatic match in this one. And Trish, she wins the belt. She would it'd be vacated, and Lita would end up winning the belt back in a tournament final the following month at Cyber Sunday. And this was the end of Trish's full-time run as a wrestler. She would, of course, recently have a very notable feud with Becky Lynch back in 2023, and some would say that's some of the best work she had ever done in her career. So even when you consider all the accomplishments and the improvements that she made as a performer in her prime, for her to come back all these years later and deliver really high-quality stuff with Becky Lynch, I think is a testament to her ability as well. By the way, Lita would get her retirement match a few months after this, and needless to say, it would not be as respectful. Todd Grisham backstage in the promo zone with Randy Orton. What's going through his mind as he gets ready for Carlito? Orton congratulates Trish on her retirement, but says nobody cares unless they're Canadian, but they don't have lives anyway, so ha. He reminds everybody that he won the world title in this very building 2 years ago, and he wraps it all up by saying Trish Stratus is a bitch, and tonight he'll make Carlito his. Ooh, what a heel. That takes us to our next match. Two guys who would go on to both be on the card for WrestleMania 40 in 2024. It's Orton versus Carlito. After Randy Orton had his match with Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam, we pivoted to this match here with he and Carlito, who's trying to break out as a babyface now. He's got this romantic relationship blooming with Trish Stratus, and they have this very heart-to-heart conversation about Trish retiring. Carlito wants to give Trish a smooch, but Orton checks into Carlito, which hurts Trish as well. That's a small part of the bigger heat between Orton and Carlito here. They're sizing each other up at the start, then Carlito just spits right in Orton's face. Gross. Orton with a thumb to the eye and starts to put the boots to his opponent. Carlito comes back with a couple of back-to-back springboard maneuvers. The latter of the two busts open Orton's mouth as a result. He hits a dropkick to Carlito on the apron, who flies back into the barricade. Orton working that chin lock for a good while, but Carlito regains some strength. He hits the ropes multiple times, just using his whole body as a weapon here. Orton tries to hit the RKO, but it's countered into the backcracker. He goes to the corner, does a springboard and turns around, but is brought down in midair by an RKO. Beautiful counter. Randall gets the win. I'm going to give it 3 stars out of 5. The match itself was just okay in my opinion. The finish was awesome. Not too many times, at that point at least, that matches were ending with RKOs that dramatic. So that was pretty cool. As far as I can tell though, this is pretty much like the peak of Carlito's run as a babyface, in 2006. He had the feud with Chris Masters earlier in the year, and he had this thing with Orton, but I don't know, it never clicked with me, Carlito as a babyface. I think he had a good, babyface fire, but for whatever reason, it just didn't seem to connect and seem to really work on a higher level. In your main event, a TLC match for the WWE Championship as Edge defends against John Cena. This has been the defining main event feud for 2006 so far. It began right at the beginning of the year at New Year's Revolution when Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank contract to beat John Cena for his first World Championship. He did drop it back immediately at the Royal Rumble later that month, but Edge is now a main eventer and there's really no going back at this point. Fast forward to SummerSlam, Edge cheated to beat John Cena to retain his title. The next night on Raw, Lita threw John's spinner belt into the Long Island Sound, leading to Edge bringing out the Rated R title, which looked exactly like the spinner title, but with a new center plate. Boy, I gotta tell you, from watching that show live, that reveal was a bit disappointing. But Cena got revenge by throwing Edge into the drink that night. Edge has had enough and he wants Cena gone. Cena presents a SmackDown contract that he's willing to sign, no questions asked, but only if Edge gives him one more match for the title. Edge says he gets to pick the place and the match. It will be in his hometown of Toronto in a match that favors Edge quite a bit. TLC. It's a match that Cena had never been in, a match Edge had never lost. Truly, the deck was stacked against our friend John Cena. Edge getting a hero's welcome in his hometown while Cena is naturally booed, but to his credit, I think that his responses in the States at this time at least are a lot more mixed, Cena was definitely getting booed around this time. Fans had been rejecting him, but none more so than in Toronto when Edge is there. The match opens up with a headlock. Boo! They don't like Cena doing anything in this matchup here. Edge soon gaining an advantage. He sets up some chairs in the ring, a reverse DDT onto them by Edge. Nice reaction from the fans there. On the outside, Edge with a drop kick into the ladder leading up into Cena's face. I just now noticed this sign, the Marine, rated R for rental. Love that. Cena with a hip toss to Edge onto a ladder. Edge on the apron and stops Cena in his tracks before he can be launched into the tables below. In the corner, it looks like Edge is going to do a sunset flip powerbomb into the table, but they just kind of fall a bit short. They find their way back to the table though with a power slam. Edge running up the ladder and diving to the outside moments later. He's moving like a madman for this match. Edge starts using the chairs again, wants to go for the concerto, but Cena escapes to the chagrin of the fans. Cena with a throwback face first onto a chair. Edge becomes part of a ladder sandwich, then Cena ties him up with the STF. That looked pretty brutal. Cena's in full control now, driving the ladder into the champ's face, then giving the ladder an FU onto Edge. Cena goes for a super 5-knuckle shuffle off the ladder. My God, he may have gone totally blind. Cena goes to set up another table. Edge grabs a chair and dinks Cena with it. He puts John on one table, puts another table on top, goes up top, but Cena gets up and shoves Edge to the floor. JR saying he saved his soul by getting up from that. More of these pro-Cena chants mixed with boos as the challenger grabs the Jeff Hardy-sized ladder. Cena climbs it, but Edge leaps off another one and hits a spear. After a bit of a struggle, Cena powerbombs Edge into a standing ladder. That looked kind of rough. Cena with a chair shot of his own starts climbing the ladder, goes to grab the belt when Lita shows up and tilts the ladder back. Lita continues to meddle, but it backfires because he falls into Edge's ladder, and now it's the champ's turn to go through a table. JR calling Lita an evil bitch as she takes an FU from Cena. Cena is conflicted about what to do next. He clearly has enough time to climb a ladder and get it over with, but he takes his time. They both make their way up to the top. Cena hits an FU on Edge off the top through the stacked tables. He grabs the belt and wins the match, hugs John Cena Sr. once again. I give it 4.5 stars out of 5. This match ruled. I just love this because I think both guys have a lot to prove at this stage in the game, because Edge, less than a year into his time as a main event talent, he's going to go on to have a very long part of his career in that realm, but right now he's trying to prove that he deserves to be there. and he is just going crazy in this match to do that. And same with Cena. He's walking into a lion's den here, going into a match where he knows he's going to get booed even more than he already is, but he's not rattled. He continues to put on this, babyface performance that is still kind of badass. That finish, dumping Edge off the top through the tables, is one of the most devastating endings of all time. But both guys, like I said, working a lot to impress the crowd, whether they're face or heel or whatever, however the fans want to interpret it in Toronto, and they deliver a kick-ass match. My grade for Unforgiven 2006 is a B-. I thought, this is basically a fancy Raw, but it's a good fancy Raw. I like that. It had a great main event, an absolutely bonkers Hell in a Cell match that is definitely memorable for a lot of reasons. A great retirement match for Trish Stratus. The rest of the undercard was kind of meh. But besides that, I think, it was, as far as a single brand pay-per-view, it delivered in a big way. You had two of these crazy stipulation matches. How often do you have TLC and Hell in a Cell in the same show? But I think that they each had their own stories to tell, and they both really delivered. So I definitely walked away from watching this show with a pretty positive look. Well, next week here on You Can't See May, we're going to take a look at the best moments of John Cena's career in a new countdown. But 2 weeks from the release of this video, we go back to the classic realm once again. We looked at a high of John Cena's career in Unforgiven 06, but we're going to take a turn down to the low. We're going to go down to 2010. We're talking about SummerSlam. We're talking about Team WWE versus Team Nexus. What could go wrong? You're going to find out in a couple of weeks. But until then, be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. Hit that bell icon for all the notifications. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.